First at 5 o'clock, an atmospheric river hits much of western Oregon and Washington. It made for a wet morning drive, and while things did let up a bit this afternoon, more heavy rain is still on the way. And that rain has us under a flood watch right now. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Matt Zafino for the details in our first forecast. Matt?
Yeah, Portland's right on the edge of the really heavy rain that is now pushed north into Washington, and I hesitate to say drier weather because the air is really humid, but it's not raining as much once you get south of Portland and down towards Salem, where it's been dry for a little bit. There's some more light rain headed there right now, but you can see where the yellow is. That's where the heavy rain is, and it's pretty much all north of us. Western Washington getting hit really hard along the I-5 corridor from Longview up to Seattle right now. And yes, there were a few thunderstorms on the coast of Washington, none of those in Oregon. So what will happen tonight? Well, we're going to dry it out a little bit. I can't promise it'll be completely dry, but the heavy rain will stay north of us for a bit, and then it comes back. So we're not done with it yet. We're only about halfway through this event. The airport now is up to nearly 3/4 of an inch. Salem over an inch, but look to the north, almost 2 inches at Hoquiam. And some of the rain amounts in the Coast Range and the Cascades are pushing 5 inches already. So on track for the 6 to 10 inch totals we have been talking about there. Flood watch up to the north and then down to just south of Salem. The southern Willamette Valley not under the flood watch because they're just not getting the heavy rain that we are here. And that continues through tomorrow. So rain will increase tomorrow morning in the early morning hours. I would expect a really wet, very soggy morning commute with lots of big puddles and all that. So there will be an impact for drivers in the morning. Another 1 to 2 inches for the valleys and for the Cascades and Coast Range. Another 3 to 6 inches of rain on the way. And of course, that means that we'll have more urban flooding, ponding of water on roadways, underneath overpasses, low spots, and around any storm drains that are clogged with leaves. Many of them are because the leaves are still coming down. And the threat for landslides and debris flows also continues, Laurel. So more on this. And a look at the weekend, which is looking quite a bit brighter than tomorrow. In a bit, back to you.
Looking forward to the weekend. Thank you, Matt. Rescuers had to save a woman this afternoon in Stayton after she nearly drowned in the Santiam River. She was stuck in the current and was clinging to brush in the water, unable to get to shore. Rescuers say the woman had been living in a camp near the river and got caught by rising water levels, and she was taken to the hospital, and we wish her well. Traffic alert tonight. Highway 30 is shut down in both directions just west of St. Helens. There was a crash at that spot, and we don't know much yet about the circumstances, but crews expect the highway to be closed for quite a while they clean up and investigate. A small school district in eastern Oregon is facing an $11,000 fine for not enforcing the statewide mask mandate. Here's Christelle Kumwe with more.
A state mandate requires kids to wear masks indoors. For months, Oregon's Occupational Safety and Health Division, or OSHA, has been handing out fines to places not enforcing Governor Brown's mask mandate and other COVID safety guidelines. This time, the Adrian School District near the Oregon-Idaho border is facing an $11,000 fine. It's a small district, including an elementary and high school with about 300 students total.
What this report was all about was an inspection that we conducted in response to 3 complaints about a lack of mask usage at school facilities involving the Adrian School District in Eastern Oregon.
Those complaints led to on-site visits by OSHA inspectors who found 4 violations, 2 related to COVID and 2 related to OSHA standards not related to the pandemic. 2 of those violations are marked as serious at $420 apiece. Another defined as other than serious at $100, and a willful violation related to mask wearing at $10,500. The total penalty is $11,440.
I think the bottom line, though, when you look at the willful violation and you look at the overall penalty, it certainly is the largest penalty we've issued over COVID requirements to a school district.
Back in August, the Adrian School District fired Superintendent Kevin Purnell. The school board wanted him to defy the governor's mask mandate. He refused and was voted out. A new superintendent started just this week. The website for the Adrian School District does include a safe return to school plan, saying students and staff are required to wear face coverings. School officials declined our request for an interview, but they tell us they filed an appeal and requested a hearing for 3 out of the 4 violations, including the one related to mask wearing for $10,500.
Again, this is the largest fine given to an Oregon school.
For comparison, OSHA fined a Medford High School $200 in December of last year over COVID safety violations.
Christelle, do we know of any other investigations?
Absolutely, Laurel. A report in the Malheur Enterprise says OSHA is actually investigating 6 other schools for possible COVID safety violations.
Thank you, Christelle. And we have a big update now surrounding Boeing and the crash of one of its planes in Ethiopia in 2019. For the first time, Boeing is taking responsibility. In a court filing yesterday, Boeing admitted software on its 737 MAX caused the crash and said the aircraft was in a, quote, unsafe condition to fly. All 157 people on board died when the pilots couldn't control the plane after takeoff.
These lawsuits will continue, but we no longer have to prove that Boeing is at fault. They've admitted fault. Now the cases are just about the damages. How much is Boeing going to pay? What does justice look like for each individual victim family?
The attorney you just heard from there also said he hopes Boeing will now settle all of the lawsuits and not force victims' families to go to trial. That crash in Ethiopia was the second in the span of 6 months. Another MAX plane went down in Indonesia in October of 2018, killing all 189 people on board. Boeing has since fixed the software problem, and the planes were recertified to start flying earlier this year. Parents and administrators from a Northeast Portland school are trying to figure out how to make it safer for students. A student walkout last week at Roseway Heights Middle School turned into what some parents described as a brawl. The protest was in response to incidents of sexual harassment among the students. It escalated into fights, and one student needed medical treatment. The school met with parents last night about the problem.
Tonight's community meeting was to address the stress that is now evident. We are doing what we can to really address the needs, social and emotional needs of everyone involved.
That parent you just heard is advocating for the safety of all, plus workable solutions to support students like restorative justice and a different approach to resolving conflict in the classroom. The Portland School District also previously said in a statement it was aware of the sexual harassment allegations. Some big issues being discussed in Portland City Hall will have to wait until next week for a resolution. The City Council is deciding how to spend a budget surplus. The extra money comes from a change in the business tax, and it brought in $60 million more than expected. Mayor Ted Wheeler wants to use $18 million of that on additional homeless programs. He also wants to spend another $7 million to hire more police officers. Last night, almost 300 people signed up to share their thoughts on how to spend the money.
We have to prioritize cleanup of the streets now. If you wait, it's like a wildfire that you cannot stop.
But the perception is crime goes unpunished here. The majority of citizens are not your priority. The city feels lawless, and we feel abandoned by our elected officials.
Because of all the testimony, the City Council did not make a final vote yesterday. It will discuss the issue again next week. A creative partnership will help struggling Vancouver restaurants and nonprofits. It's called Savor the Couve. Brian Clerkley is here with how you can enjoy a good meal for a good cause. Brian?
That's right. Hey, Laurel, it's back for a second year. There's 80 restaurants and 16 nonprofits that will benefit. And for the next 4 months, you can enjoy this food, and it all goes to a great cause.
Over half of our sales we lost, and that's significant for anybody. It was over half.
Bonnie Brazier is the owner of Blue Door Bakery. She'd like 2020 to be a distant memory. Her restaurant is still struggling, this time with staffing issues.
We're hanging in there. We could be doing better. We've brought on a lot more staff getting ready to open. Right now, we're just open for brunch on Sundays. We've just reopened indoor seating for 1 day a week for the time being.
The Savor the Couve campaign is designed to give Blue Door and other restaurants another way to make money. The Greater Vancouver Chamber of Commerce and Visit Vancouver USA are behind the effort. The restaurants will provide 1 course each. The meals are 5 courses with a new theme every week. Of the $125 price, $25 goes to a nonprofit. The remainder goes to the restaurants. You just place your order online and pick the food up at the diner on Mill Plain Boulevard, which acts as the distribution center.
If this was one of the biggest outside-of-the-box things, and it was the coolest thing ever, it's like the old-fashioned progressive dinner, but it's in one nice, neat little package, and everybody got it. It helped, and that's what we've all been forced to do.
John McDonough with the Greater Vancouver Chamber of Commerce said Savor the Couve was very successful in 2020.
We had feedback from restaurants that said that it allowed them to keep their doors open because we were selling between 100 and 150 meals a week.
Lynn Miller is the board chair for Bridge the Gap, a nonprofit helping foster children. Her organization will be one of the beneficiaries of Savor the Couve.
Every penny donated goes right to a foster child, but never to the foster parent.
And this week's theme is all American, and some of the other themes include Italian night, Southern style, and vegan week. And these dishes are served up by restaurant favorites like Trapdoor Brewing, Ben's Bottle Shop, and Chandelier Bakery. Back to you, Laurel.
Sounds like a delicious win-win in the Couve. Thank you, Brian.